Ready. And action. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again here at Sisseton, Wahpeton College in beautiful downtown Agency Village, South Dakota. For Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, Native American Literature with your brilliant professor, Victor Singing Eagle. The dude who put do in dude. And hero without the zero. Your brilliant professor, the man himself, Victor Singing Eagle. Yay! Right on, right on. Okay, let's get started, shall we? Gotta put that down. Now, oh, right, I got another book in the mail. Oh boy, time to geek out some more. Where's my scissors? Hang on, I gotta set this down. What did I get? Hope I don't cut it. It's a hardcover. Ooh, goody, goody.
Give me my book. Give me my book.
It is. Oh, goody. Louise Erdrich. The Sentence, a novel. Oh, goody, I can't wait to break the spine of this book and get busy. But we don't have enough time. Oh, and I gotta take off this hat so we can focus. Right, my Native American veteran hat, that is. I need to torture you guys with some announcements. Let me quit messing around. Okay, announcements email. Check your emails as always. There's indigenous food sovereignty stuff coming along. What does it mean? Free food! Yay! Seeds of sovereignty. There's some planting going on as well, where you can have a garden. Let me just click on it to show you what I'm talking about. See, it says here, growing together, seeds of sovereignty. That is April 4th, 2025 at 10 to 2. What day of the week is that? Friday. There we go, 10 to 2. Neat. You can learn how to do plant indigenous herbs and vegetables. And this one says here, April 14th. Fully funded program. You can get a stipend with hands-on experience. That's a special program. I know there's something with free food coming up as well. I can't remember where it is. Just check your email. Also, Erica Fisher and Marcia Heminger, they're talking about these bike rentals because the weather's warming up. And remember to apply for graduation Friday at noon. That would be the day after tomorrow, I guess. Yep, 3:28 at noon. And then always remember that when there's games, you can check your email, and you can see live streams of our games. So that's enough of that. Back to this e-learning stuff. If you'll notice, I have these videos here when the last time I was geeking out over new books. So have a look at that. That's from our meeting 9SE, that stands for Special Edition. And today we're going to talk about literary criticism, but before we even get into that, we do need to mess with our textbook. Otherwise, you're not getting your money's worth. And I didn't bring my glasses, so I'm going to have to hold my book out like an old man. So we're going to look at our Daniel Heath Justice book on page 113, and why indigenous literatures matter. I think I have it already pre-selected. Hold on. 113. No, that's not it. There it is right there. The section that I want to highlight is called How Do We Become Good Ancestors? That's the one. And I'm going to highlight where Daniel Heath Justice mentions Beth Brant, which is on page 114. Here we go. Now, again, I got to hold this out like an old man. It says here, in her introduction to 1983's A Gathering of Spirit, a collection by North American Indian women. The aforementioned Beth Brant offered the following words for Indigenous women writers, words that speak a truth well beyond their time. These hands fight back. The police, a battering husband, white men who would rape us and the land we live on. We use our fists, our pens, our paints, our cameras. We drive the trucks to the demonstrations. We tie the sashes of our children dancing for the first time in the circle of the drum. We weave the blankets. We keep us a culture. Our hands live and work in the present, pulling on the past. It is impossible for us not to do both. Our hands make a future. Brant died in 2015. She is now more than a respected elder. She's an honored ancestor, among the best we have in Indigenous literature. Her words, the work of her hands and mind, continue to make a future for us, continue to guide good thought and courageous action. Now, skipping down, page 114, it says here, where we are today and all the possibility of now is the delicate between. So this is between the past and the present. We're the ancestors of future generations, just as the ordinary people of past times became the ancestors to whom we now look for guidance and cautionary example. We hope that the work we do today makes life better for those of us in the future. But the how of it, especially for those of us who are largely untethered from the cultural continuity of tradition and ceremonies, is a challenge to realize in the everyday. So there's some of that. Now I'm going to also highlight Queen Liliuokalani, who is the old queen of Hawaii. This is on page 116. Because remember, we're talking about indigenous literatures. And in this case, this is an indigenous Hawaiian American. Because you remember, there are indigenous peoples there as well. Let me read and stop editorializing and preaching. Says here, Queen on January 17th, 1893, in the sovereign kingdom of Hawaii, a cabal of white U.S. sugar plantation owners and businessmen, missionaries, and politicians put into effect their long gestating conspiracy to overthrow Queen Liliuokalani, her government, and the sovereignty of the Hawaiian people. These men, newcomers to the island nation, who'd insinuated themselves into position of power, wanted U.S. annexation of the Hawaiian Islands to protect their financial interests and expanding ambitions, which had been threatened by the growing political resistance of Kanaka Maoli and their prominent advocate, the formidable Queen, who had the temerity to challenge white interests in her homeland. The businessmen's coup succeeded in toppling the kingdom, but only with the help of heavily armed U.S. Marines. U.S. exceptionalism became the governing doctrine over the white supremacist Republic of Hawaii. Yet, Liliuokalani was imprisoned in the Iolani Palace, her people politically marginalized in their own homeland with harsh new laws quickly implemented to disenfranchise and dispossess them. They resisted nonetheless, physically, ideologically, spiritually, linguistically, and significantly through the written word. That's where we come in, Native literature. Often at the same time, in the years before, during, and after the overthrow, Kanaka Maoli distributed petitions, founded newspapers, shared letters, wrote pamphlets, stories, essays, poems, songs, and books, communicated commitments to the land and legacy through Hawaiian language-specific genres that Kanaka Maoli, political scientist Noene Silva, identifies as Mo'otelo, Mo'olelo, Mo'olelo, something like that. I'm going to stop it there and skip over to page 118 because she is the one who wrote the song Aloha, Aloha Oi. Remember that song? Aloha Oi, Aloha Oi. Never mind. Read. So the queen is now in prison in her own palace, you see. And as she's sitting there languishing in misery, she sits and she starts to write this song. This is where we return to Queen Liliuokalani, who, in addition to being a distinguished and dignified sovereign, well regarded among her international royal peers, a skilled political strategist and relentless opponent of the U.S. business and military interests that impinged on her people and their lands. She was also a talented musician and writer. It is she who penned Aloha, Aloha Oi, Farewell to Thee, a mele that most North Americans know only through cheesy song renditions played on ill-tuned ukuleles in the Elvis Blue Hawaii mode, or even worse, the Looney Tunes version. In its uncolonized form, Aloha Oi is a song about loss, departure, and remembrance. Though composed in 1878, more than a decade before the overthrow, it became a symbol of Hawaiian resistance. So it says here that it was actually composed earlier, but I imagine that she perfected it while she was in jail, maybe house arrest or palace arrest. Let me skip over to page 119. While ostensibly about grieving lovers and the moment of separation, the song is just as intimately concerned with the Aina, the land, and its particular beauty, mentioning Hawaiian flowers and features. Let's see, keep going. Locating their love within the shaded bowers of rain-swept valley that would have been intimately familiar with Kanaka Maoli audience, especially one well primed to read other layers of meaning about their struggle in the song's lyrics. So I'm going to skip there and I'm going to keep rolling down where it says here at the bottom of page 119, it embraces Victorian literary conventions which were popular at the time. And here is a quote from the Queen herself. It says here, Liliuokalani transcribed the song during her imprisonment. And as she notes in her political autobiography, Hawaii's Story by Hawaii's Queen, though I was still not allowed to have newspapers or general literature to read, writing paper and lead pencils were not denied. So this is her autobiography. Now we're going on to page 120. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. So she says she was denied reading material, but she was allowed pencil and paper. Keep going. And I was thereby able to write music after drawing for myself the lines of the staff. So she's able to write the music on this paper. At first, I had no instrument, and I had to transcribe the notes by voice alone, but I found, notwithstanding disadvantages, great consolation in composing, and transcribed a number of songs. 3 found their way from my prison to the city of Chicago, where they were printed, among them Aloha Oi, or Farewell to Thee, which became a very popular song. Boom! That's from our book. Now, page 124, which is Wendy Rose, who is Hopi and Miwok. Again, I don't normally like to read to students, but sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures, do they not? especially when my students get lazy and won't read. Never mind. Focus. Right. So, page 124, Wendy Rose. And I forgot to mark it, so I'm just going to scan it. It says here, Wendy Rose. And I need my, there it is, right there at the bottom of page 124 in our book. For this discussion, I want to consider the Hopi Miwok poet, artist, and renegade anthropologist, Wendy Rose, who has often turned her critical and creative work toward the besieged state of the indigenous dead. In particular, her poetry and essays concerned themselves with both the commercial traffic in indigenous burial remains and the spiritual hauntings resulting from this legacy of colonialism. She draws on her ancestors, Hopi, Miwok, and European, to synthesize herself to the relational and often liminal understanding of reality, while extending her anthropological training toward keen-eyed subversion of the exploitative cultural biases that relegate indigenous lifeways, bodies, and realities to dumb, objectified, and commercialized matter. So what Daniel Heath Justice is telling us is that Wendy Rose, who's also a poet, her work led to the passage of the landmark Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, otherwise known as NAGPRA. I believe that was in, what was that, 1978? I can't remember. Because, you know, the anthropologists and archaeologists used to go to Indian burial grounds and dig up our bodies and put them in museums and get all our sacred, um, whatever sacred items, rob them from the grave and stick them in the museums. So Wendy Rose would write about this. She also became an anthropologist so she could kind of be on the inside and kind of stop that material, stop that practice. So I'm going to turn to page 126 for her own words. It says here, when I talk about protecting the burial grounds, it is both a literal fact and a metaphor. The metaphor is to protect Indian people through, in some instances, trying to neutralize the very weapons that are being used against Indians by mastering those weapons and, in a sense, breaking them from within. That's what I was telling you, right? Okay. It is also a literal fact in the poem by that name, Protecting the Burial Grounds. The poem was, in fact, written in front of a bulldozer on top of an Indian cemetery, where we were sitting to prevent the bulldozer from just going through and ripping up the Indian graves. And there's more. I'm going to skip it. I'm going to refer you to some of her work, which is on page 128 and 129, her poetry, because I've already gone much too long, you say. Now, I'm going to talk about the powwow in a minute. But first, I got to stop it because I think I already went 20 minutes long, didn't I? So thank you so much. We're going to cut this video in half. 18 minutes and 33 seconds. We'll stop it right there. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.